All right, I clicked live. Let's see how it looks. Hopefully everyone can hear me. If not, I know how to fix it. So. Oh God. Oh man. All right. All right. I'm just gonna keep talking. Let me know if you can hear me. All right. Cool. All right. Here I go. Yes, success. Okay. All right. Yeah, we are live. Sorry everyone. If you're watching right now, because we technically are live. I'm just trying to get it set up. Um, Ryan, are you saying we don't prepare extensively before on everything else? All right. Hold on. There we go. I hate how it goes to what are you selling when you first enter in something on Unlimited. It's like, no, I'm not selling anything. Wizkids rotation with Ryan. Oh. All right. All right, everyone. So basically, I just wanted to have a. Oh, that's terrible. I just wanted to have kind of like by the way, this is Chris and Rob game room. Today, Rob he had plans because this is a moment's notice and didn't know we were gonna have to do a video today, but I thought it'd be best to do a video today because what Wizkids did. I'm really happy well, I'm really happy that we can get together on such short notice, and I'm really happy for our guest that came on. Ryan Slater, judge extraordinaire. He's judging you now. Look at him. And then Joe Vega, creative supreme, that brought an interesting team to the WKO. Is it super spicy or just mild? Okay, fair enough. That's the judging you right there. Okay, so today Wizkids, they announced a rotation for June 1st. They're doing Deadpool back, which is getting rid of quite a few cards. A lot of meta cards. Savage. That I just got to say, savage on the part of Wizkids. Honestly, They fixed it. Yeah, I checked it like 20 minutes before we went live just to make sure. Yeah, Superman Wonder Woman is something we can use from now on. Oh yeah. And another thing that happened is they banned Cube. A lot of us saw that coming. Okay. Oh, I saw it coming. I saw the writing on the wall when everyone was playing Cosmic Cube. I tried to come up with teams without Cosmic Cube, and it's just very hard when everyone else is playing it. Yeah. 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 Yeah, relentless. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's barking up the wrong tree because there's so many other things that really affects Cosmic Cube makes King Black Bolt team go. Granted, King Black Bolt, it's dead. Makes your opponent do much more damage to you. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. So, Joe, Beholder's not going to be in rotation anymore. I was hoping to see that a little bit more, but sucks. I think we may have lost Joe. Uh, Absolutely. Especially if they have Gorilla Grodd out and you just do that to them. Oh man. Yeah, absolutely. Um, so I think another thing that's going to change the meta going forward is no Riprender's chalkboard. No. All right, you should dry your eyes. Come on now. Yeah. I think in the campaign boxes they might be trying to do something to replace that. I hope, because it added an interesting piece. It's gonna slow Nats. Oh, don't worry. That they're probably gonna spring another thing on us. So yeah. All right. So yeah. Me personally, I just got into the game about a year ago, so it's not really affecting me that much. I do have some tech cards because everyone's been pretty good in the community, just giving cards to me. So I do have a lot of the tech cards. It's just it's not that devastating to me, and I think it's actually leading to a more thinking strategic game. To personally. Mm-hmm. Collector Nabi is that's going to be the thing until I think Nats is going to be Nabi, honestly, and How does that even work? Common Kate Bishop? What? Yeah. Yeah. What are your thoughts, Joe? It evens out. I'm a brewer. All right. If you need to turn off your cam, you can. If that would help. Okay. All right. So yeah, just be. I think the brewing aspect is going to be. I think it's going to be interesting. I do. Hmm. Yeah. Shriek. Um. Yeah. Sir, let's not forget Rare Blob. He can be used as a blanker, and that it's decent. Hmm. Yeah. 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 Knowing how or Wizkids is, it'll be way long. Then all of a sudden, oh, we have like 500 more cards for everyone right now. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they're literally calling it anything else but the LCG. Cancer. Mm, I thought one maybe rotated out. No, it's the cutoff point. So Doctor Strange is still. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Which is sad because those are two really good sets, and I really like them. Tech pieces. Rare Danger Room. I really need to get that. Yeah. Yeah. I have never opened a Thor draft pack. I was disappointed about that. I opened so many TOA. I loved it. I didn't think I was, and I was like, man, that's too expensive because I'm not that. I can't afford that much. But man, the TOA, oh, going hard and just buying it and just. I remember when I opened up Yon T, it was just like I was a giddy little schoolgirl. It was amazing. Robert was on stream with me, and it was the first pack I opened, and I was like, and he's like, "You you got it, didn't you?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna play." And he's like, "Oh man." Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because it's fun. Oh. Okay. All right. Let me try to fix that. That's all right. Yeah.
And it's made it interesting,
That should
so
work.
that's how we've continued to do some drafting with those without the draft packs. We were lucky enough to get our hands on some, and we've just been able to continue with it. So we did a massive basically call to every random store within 50 miles of us to see who had it and what we could get. Basically called.
All right, I think I fixed the audio.
Yeah, you're good on the audio. And by the way, my connection is a lot stronger now. I had to, shut everybody else off for the internet. That's what you get for having a crappy residential service here.
That sucks. All right, so
well, we'll try not to keep you too long so we don't upset your family's lack of internet.
Oh, it's okay. The kids themselves.
I've got a 7-year-old daughter. If I take YouTube away from her for more than 30 minutes, it is hell at this house. So,
thankfully, they can entertain themselves with Barbie dolls and Legos. So.
I wish I could say the same with my kids. I've got a Nerf collection that most people would die for. I've got over 2,000 Nerf rounds still new in package in my house.
Well, you also mentioned like one of the biggest Nerf events.
The biggest. We've got the world record. Hold on here.
Oh no, he's got credentials.
Certified,
baby. I've got the certificate to prove it. Yes, and I've been to the events after that, which are even bigger. Like I said, I've got a Nerf, collection that most people would dream for, and my kids are just like, whatever. I'm like, so I'll randomly walk around the house. I'll pick up one of the Nerf guns and just start shooting people.
Man, we should have probably gotten a Guinness Book thing for having as many Yanti teams as we had at the events.
Unfortunately, I can talk about the actual expense of getting a Guinness World Record certificate and whatnot, and we may be able to, because we have documentation. We've got all the documentation, all that stuff. We may be able to still do it, but I don't think any of us want to go through the physical expense to get that piece of paper.
Not worth it.
Not worth it. To have the adjudicator on site at the event when you're doing it is a 5-figure fee. Now, the great thing about it is they will have all the documentation. They'll certify it, and at the end of the event, they hand you that big plaque, and you've got it.
It only takes 5 figures to make it easy for you after that.
It only makes it 5 figures. If you try to do your own self documentation, the first 2 or 3 times you try to do it, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
It's just because you're going to miss something in the documentation. Once you start getting through the process and it becomes a lot easier. But I digress. We've gone down the whole idea of how do we get world records, and that's not what we're here to talk about. I apologize. I'm the king of tangents. So
getting back to the rotation, when you guys asked me earlier before the internet connection was bad, I think this is a really good opportunity for a lot of brewers who don't necessarily play at the competitive level but want to have that kind of tier results in their teams. This is a really good opportunity for them to go ahead and really jump on the ball and just get ahead of everybody else, because that's what I intend on doing. Even if I'm not going to be present at nationals, I still want to have the idea that gives another person the idea, kind of like with the Hella Beholder. If somebody else had a better team, great. I just want to say that I was there for that experience, or I started them down the road. And that's what you're going to have. You're going to have a lot of people chomping at the bit, a lot of casual to competitive people going, what can I do now? Because the options are all open, because you no longer have RIP Hunter's Chalkboard, which I think, Ryan, there's nothing against it. Honestly, I love that card since I pulled it in my first Gravity feed, because we bought 2 of them, one for the girls, one for all the kids, because they love opening those.
Oh, hold on.
Pops the Rip Hunter's Chalkboard.
Sorry, my audio cut out for a second. My bad.
Okay. I'm just going to keep on going.
Okay.
But anyway, there's nothing wrong with the Rip Hunter's Chalkboard, in all honesty. But if you're looking at it from a new player standpoint, it adds a certain level of comprehension that they have to get on. It's no longer like you buy the die, it goes to your use pile, you draw it out. It doesn't follow the cycle. It interrupts the cycle.
Right. No, it adds a level of acceleration. And that's what I was saying. It very few cards have had an impact on the rules or the flow of the game than it did.
Yeah.
Everything else was just a new, not a new mechanic, just a new way of dealing damage. A new way of messing with something. This was the first time where it was all of a sudden the core fundamentals of the game got changed buy a card.
Yeah, and I mean, let's compare that to I think it was late 2014 or mid 2014 when you had PXG. You know, that's what I consider Rip Hunter's chalkboard has the effect on the game, because even whenever we started playing the game, some buddies of mine and I, when they introduced it to me, I was like, wow, there's, you know, this is a very powerful global. How is this type of thing existing in this game? Because they didn't realize the full potential of it, but I immediately saw it and I was like, why is this even here, you know?
Yeah. No, I mean, I remember the very first competitive event I actually went to. I was a kitchen player for 6 months before I even went out to a competitive event. Did not have a very large set of cards. You know, I was a D&D only collector, and you know, the D&D one was the only set that was out there. And I did not have a large, so my son wanted to go. I let my son have first pick. You know, he built his team, and I picked from the dredges. So I'm walking into this event knowing I don't have a chance. Now, what little did I know is that this was the weekend before the WKO that was about to happen. So everyone's got their ultra competitive, you know, teams that they're testing. And here I come walking in with a D&D swarm based team, and I had the swarm mechanic wrong. I completely messed up. Now, I will say I understood how PXG worked. I never had it. I didn't own the card yet, but I understood the mechanic of it. And I remember another player, you know, sitting at the seat next to me playing, you know, his match, and they're using PXG, and the guy, you know, PXG's, and you know, his opponent goes, "Man, why are you doing that? It's just such a waste of energy. You know, it'd be so much easier to just buy what you want instead of spend that energy to do that." And the person sitting, sitting across from him, you know, his opponent that he's talking to, kind of looks over at me with the big bug-eyed going, how did he just say that with a straight face? You know, and I, at that point, he kind of looked down and saw the team that I had, and all you see, like, the fear across his face of, oh my God, did I just alienate a new player here? And I kind of shook him off. I'm like, we'll talk later, man.
Don't look at me. Don't look at me.
So getting back to that, you know, I see Rip Hunters having the same effect as PXG back then. New players aren't always going to understand it 100%. And even veteran players are going to look at it and go, this card is busted. I don't want to give my opponent the chance. Just like with PXG, people were looking for alternative ways during 2014 and 2015 Nats and Worlds to kind of cut people off from that PXG ramp.
Yeah. Oh, no. I mean, especially in that first Worlds, it was one of those, you either brought PXG because you needed it, or you did not bring PXG and you hoped you were paired against someone who had it because you still needed it, but you didn't want to waste the slot for it, or you figured out a brew that didn't need it at all, and those that didn't need it at all had a chance, because if it's there, capitalize, use it, bang it out, take them down. But I don't need it, and so I can continue without it. And so then you get paired against someone who was hoping their opponent would have it, and now they don't. Their team's crumbled.
Yep.
You know, and the same thing, as you said, the same thing's happening with Rip, chalkboard right now. You know, the team I was brewing for, to help people prep for the WKO. I knew I had to have Rip. There's no way my team could function without it.
Yeah.
Did I take the chance and put something else in that slot and hope that my opponents brought it for me? No, I had to have it on my team. And I played against a couple of guys, and there was one of those, they'd sat down, they're like, "Oh, you've got Rip," and they banged it out. They were able to use it better than I was, and got the wins over me.
So let's use my little spicy brew. I hate to put the spotlight on me so much. I apologize, guys, but we're gonna look at the differences, the key differences of why this rotation is so good now versus a rotation before, whenever we reach the 2-year mark, whenever the game reached the 2-year mark. Right. So looking at my team, you have the Beholder, which costs 4, and you have Momentum, which lets you roll dice out of your prep area, and you have Rip Hunter's Chalkboard Global. So looking at all 3 of those, you have the potential to roll, to purchase and roll and field and use a common Beholder by turn 2. And that is busted.
Yeah.
Oh, agreed wholeheartedly. I'm going to interrupt you here. Chris, I'm not sure if you've been following the chat. DM Armada is asking if we've got room for one more to join us here. So
Absolutely.
if you want to send him the invite and get that sent over to him.
Absolutely. He's welcome anytime. So
I know. I just, like I said, I wanted to let Joe finish what he was saying there before I brought that up, you know.
Okay, this is going to be embarrassing. I've got to share the link. So this may be a little bit messed up.
Don't share it in there. You know, share it to him through a DM on Facebook.
It's already done. It's already done.
Okay. I was gonna say, please don't put the chat, you know, thing in the chat for this one. That would get ugly quickly.
So using that as an example of going back to that, why a rotation was necessary and a complete overhaul, really, a complete overhaul was necessary is because new players aren't going to be up to speed on that. They're not going to be understanding of those mechanics, and you're not going to expect them to go to their local tournament and just bust out with a team that can compete with that or can, you know, surpass that.
Right.
And that's why we needed it.
And or understand it, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't think any of us are complaining about rotation.
Oh no.
You know,
no.
I think those that did not like the idea of rotation are a year gone at this point. You know,
they were already out the door.
They walked out the door when rotation was first announced a year ago with the first one. You know, so you know, no one's left in that camp of rotation's bad and still complaining about it. They realize rotation's here and you've just got to live with it.
Well, I'm not necessarily saying that it was the rotation, but they don't agree with how far back we went.
Yeah, and again, you know, that was one of the camps. You know, did we go back far enough? Did we not go? You know, whatnot. And I think that's what the biggest concern with this cut of rotations is how aggressive they were with it. And I agree, for the sake of the game in modern, I think it was the best choice that they could have made, being that aggressive. You know, now I personally, as a player, I dislike it. I love, you know, I haven't played with a Blue Eyes White Dragon in so long it's not even funny. You know, I haven't played with, you know, I did play with a PXG recently. You know, we had a event, you know, not too actually last week. I pulled out some UXM packs, and you know, a couple of guys got it, and you know, we had some new players who'd never seen it before, and their brains kind of, you know, their jaws hit the floor when, you know, Robbie Anderson and I are sitting there playing against each other, PXGing to our heart's content, you know, and every turn rolling our entire bag and everything, you know, and they're just like, oh my God, what happened? We're like, yes, this is why rotation is good. Yeah. This is what the game was before then. You know, you wanted a 7 cost, turn 3, no problem.
Gotcha.
You know, hell, you might even be able to do a turn 2 if you did it right, you know?
Yeah.
You know,
when I was building my team for WKO, Ryan helped me out, and I was debating between, I know I couldn't put Rip Hunter's Chalkboard on that team. I had to put something in there to help rotate the team as much as I could. And I think, honestly, Heimdall is going to be the new kind of like Rip Hunter's Chalkboard, where it's pushing cards over that needs to be done.
Heimdall is a lot trickier than most people think it is.
Yep.
If you know, we call it bag management for a reason. And if you do not manage your bag, Heimdall is your worst enemy.
If you don't manage your bag manages you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's nothing worse than accidentally doing a resurrection and causing your bag to cycle. You know, you're used to go into your bag and realize you didn't Heimdall first. Mm-hmm. You know, it just soul crushing, you know, type scenario. And so I don't think Heimdall is going to have as big of an impact, you know, especially with new players and stuff like that, because of how much, you know, how much forethought you're going to have, you know, in your actions. You know, our skilled tier 1 players that are, you know, in Nats and Worlds, yeah, they've got that. I mean, that's a skill they've already got there. But for your, you know, day 1 player coming in, you know, Heimdall is just not going to be as impactful as PXG was, or Rip Hunter was, things like that.
Yeah.
So sorry about that. Go ahead, Chris.
Basically, when I started playing a year ago, PXG was almost at its height, and I was struggling to figure out how to do it and everything like that. And it was just, I remember going and playing at Duncanville and playing in a few tournaments with everyone, and it was just like, wow, I just got into a game I know nothing about, and everyone's just dominating me, and I don't know what I'm doing. And I was about that time. Robert was just like, man, you just gotta pick yourself up and just start thinking of different things. And I got King Black Bolt. It was like, okay, I understand the game now. All right.
Well, it looks like we've finally been joined here by DM Armada Steven himself. How you doing
What's up,
here,
you guys? How's it going?
What's up,
Can you hear me okay?
Yep,
Absolutely.
I can hear you.
We're good. We're good.
Sweet. What are we talking about? PXG?
At this point, we were touching on rotation and impact. It had A in the past and going stuff like that. So we were equating PXG over to Rip Hunter chalkboard. And
It's
how
a little bit similar.
And just again the
impact that it had on
the impact that those cards had at the time, and the change of pace it's going to have after it rotates out.
Sure.
So that's what we were just talking about right then.
So,
I don't quite buy that it's that big of a change. PXG was so monumentally groundbreaking that to compare it to that, I don't completely buy that that's how powerful Rip Hunter's chalkboard is, but it's close. I mean, it's certainly similar in the sense of what you guys were speaking about right before this, with the idea of if my team doesn't run it and I absolutely need it, then I just straight up lose. I don't think it's maybe as strong as that, like PXG is. I mean, it's one of those things. PXG was just so powerful. It was, if you didn't know how to use PXG, then you weren't winning. And if you did know how to use PXG, and you did it better than the person that you're playing against, it really didn't matter what you ran. You win with just about anything.
Yeah, you ran the local scene.
Yeah, pretty much.
I remember watching a couple of I think it was the Nats matches where an opponent was using that other player's PXG way better than they were, and they wound up winning the game.
Yeah, that's not uncommon.
Yeah,
that's often the case with PXG, it seems.
Yeah.
So rotation needed to happen for the retrospect of allowing a barrier, lowering the barrier to entry for newer players, as well as freshening up the meta, because it gets kind of stale whenever your have-tos are Rip Hunter's chalkboard and X card, and so then every team you build has all the slots taken except for your one or two. Whenever you do your videos, DM Armada, every time you do the combo breakdown, I expect to see at least 3 cards there, and one of them is Shriek.
Gotta need an energy fixer, and gotta need like something else, like
and then resurrection global, and it's one of those things where it's gotten to the point now in the meta that that's the established standard.
Yeah,
and so it's time for a shake.
Well, I mean, if without rotation, without cutting these out, you're going to have like we had with the 2016 Nats and Worlds, where it was 90% had the same 6 cards on it. Slight variation thereafter, and have a good day.
Okay, but I will say this: do any of us sitting here think that will be completely different in 3 months' time? That the meta will not shake itself out.
The meta is going to shake itself up. We're going to see some staples. The staples are going to be 2 or 3 cards, not where it was 2016, where it was 6 or 7 cards, where 5 or 6 cards were the identical on every team.
Well, I think part of that, and the reason we saw it just now with Yanti and Cube is because the most powerful thing was just so unbeatable. So I think to say, obviously we removed the most unbeatable thing, and we're going to get some variety. But here's the thing about really card games in general, but more so I think Dice Masters than just about any card game. You're building a team of 8 cards. It's not 30 cards. It's not 60 cards. There's no room for tech. So at the very tip-top level, you're only really running that like razor thin, this card beats everything below it. There's no room for that like occasional tech card or that 2 of that you get in something like Magic. And so at the very tip, if we're talking about, absolute top level play, you're always going to end up with some variant of like 1 to 2 teams, or excuse me, 2 to 3 teams, and these are the staples, and you need the Shriek, and you need the energy fixer, and you need all these things. So I don't think we'll ever fully pull ourselves out of that.
Yeah.
Unless you're not building that high of a meta contender of a team. You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of built into the game to a certain extent.
Yeah, and at your tier 1, there's only going to be a handful of teams. At your tier 1 level, there's only going to be a handful of teams. The thing is, right now, before the rotation where we're at right now, is there's only 2 teams.
Nabi and Yanti.
As 1.5. There was like 1.
Yeah, 1.5. I mean, there was one team, and then there was the, if you don't have a super rare Yanti, this is the other team you can run.
Tier Yanti, everything else.
Yeah. And that's how it was.
And then just chuckle and cry a little bit as you fall off.
Nats and World in 2016. That's how it was. There was one team with some minor variations on it, and again, with the Yanti team, there's the one team with minor variations on it.
You bring Bard, and then you put a bunch of other funny cards on there that you're never going to buy, but you say, "Look, my team's different."
Right.
And you just buy up all of the jars, and you just
right. You had morphing jars, you had dwarf wizards, you had Constantine, you had.
I get that elf thief on there. You gotta
elf thief to steal their energy so they couldn't PXG.
Include. Yep, that was an auto include.
I mean, there were just certain things that you started buying, or you started putting on your team just because you knew you had to have those at that tier.
Yeah.
And as you said, I mean, at a certain point, this is a card game that we're only able to use 10 cards, 8 team, and 2 basic action. There's only going to be, again, after the rotation, there's 850 cards left currently, another 150, 200 coming in.
Yes.
Destroy them all.
Cut them down.
Burn them alive.
We're going to have a good chunk of time where people are figuring out what those new top 10 cards or top 20 cards are going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 months, DM Amrado was right. That 3 months is mainly going to be used to establish what card is good against the rest of the field.
Right.
And so when you look at it at the scope, and he's right about that, when you look at it at the scope of other professional card games as well, or games in general where they have a competitive scene, it really is just that. But they're also, in going to the Nats and Worlds, they're looking at who all is in that tournament, and they're going to say, what are their strategies? What is their, what do they like to play? And then they sort of build to that. They build to beat that. So then that's a compressed meta within a meta. It's like a metaception, so to speak. So yeah. And I mean, it really does. When you look at, just like you said, when you look at the meta in 2016, Nats and even Worlds, it was the same teams because everybody knew what everyone else was running.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Man. I think the variations on the top tier teams is Yanti Super Rare, Yanti Common, and Nabi. That's really what it was for probably was going to be going forward until they did the rotate.
So you think that's that pre-rotation, or you think that's current? Is that what you're saying?
I think that's leading up to the rotation, and then after rotation, I think Yanti and Common Yanti are going to be equal value from now on.
I could see an argument for Common Yanti. I just think that there's a deck that's going to pop up, and it's not going to be by my hands, that's for sure. That's going to pop up post-rotation that'll be as effective as Nabi or better. Because that's right now, looking post-rotation, that's your current
and I personally don't like saying Nabi. I more say collector team, because there's several things you can pair with the collector, Nabi being one of the most powerful, if it's not the most powerful of it.
Yeah, we were talking about Boom Boom, even the super rare Boom Boom.
Oh,
there's Boom Boom, there's a Jubilee, if I remember correctly. Again, there's half a dozen 3-cost cards that when fielded will deal some sort of damage, which is exactly what you want, and with the collector style team. And so I think we're going to have a lot of variations there in that, and we'll all just call them a collector control team, I think Nabi Control Team is a bad name to put on it, because Nabi's just that one tech that you could rotate out.
Unless you lose the collector completely, which is totally viable.
Yes.
Collector may end up, I mean, after testing, collector may end up just being nixed, to be completely honest. It may end up being too slow, because you can just buy nearly the same, like 2 for paying 5 or plus 1 for 6. You can get 2 Nobbies instead of kind of holding on to that. So there may be some argument there.
I think Malekith is a good card to bring in instead of Nobby. Kind of do the same thing, just keep KOing him out, and could be pretty devastating.
There's some serious some serious fun things that you can do with Malekith, and again, in a action heavy team, with his global and whatnot, definite shenanigans can be had there.
Malekith and Rip Hunter and the uncommon Rip Hunter
through the Sands of Time, or through the Vanishing Point, is it?
With Nabi, I think that would be pretty darn good.
Well, again, Nabi relies heavily on villains, so you're already X1 villain on that. So let's broaden the scope, like DM Armada says, and let's consider the other 2 to 3 costs energy, or 2 to 3 cost characters that hit hard with an effect or an ability as they enter, the field. So we're talking about our Jubilee even counts in that, and we're talking about Boom Boom. We're talking about even Common Firefly. I've heard they all do those things, and so that's kind of the benchmark right now, is because you're still drawing 4 dice no matter what, and you need to make sure that your buy limit is within that 4, and you're not blowing your wad, so to speak, all in one turn, in one go.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
So go ahead.
I was gonna say, I just did a quick, Dice Coalition, search for 3 cost. Hold on, let me do actual 3 to 3 cost with the word filter of damage in there. So, and characters only. I mean, you're looking at 117 cards that potentially have something to do with damage in there. And again, I know a lot of those are going to be, stop damage, or damage a character, not be able to do your opponent,
or when damaged,
or when damaged. So again, the very broad brush here with it, but there's definitely lots of options in that category for what can be brewed with.
Oh
yeah. I see Nabi, particularly just Nabi, but maybe Collector Nabi, therefore being Collector, being sort of the high watermark of this rotation at this point.
But
until we get some finely attuned teams, and we get like 1 or 2 sets, really just maybe even the Harley Quinn team pack, but probably not. Probably the power cards most likely were designed in Avengers Infinity, and therefore, unless they dropped them, unless they cut them when they switched to Team Box, we should see those inside the box or the team packs.
Yeah, I mean, I think after the Avengers stuff drops, with some of the spoils we've already seen, there's I believe it was a 2-cost fist with Infiltrate and Swarm.
Kree team pack,
the Kree team pack. I think there may be some brewing going around against an Infiltrate idea at that point.
And it's a villain too. It's got the villain affiliation.
It's got the villain affiliation.
So you put yourself a 2-cost Swarm, Infiltrate plus villains plus Nabi and or Owlman or Malekith. Really, all of those, any of those villains cards.
Did DM Ramada's community make that card?
No.
No, the ability. We straight up
we straight up stole it, but yes, we made it a 1 cost and put a restriction on it that it's
not a villain.
That another character had to be inactive before those would trigger. But yeah, we straight up stole that idea off of it.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
All right, so I asked them earlier, Steven, do you think this is gonna? This is kind of to everyone. Do you think this is gonna help grow the community? I think kind of it.
100%. Yes.
Yeah. The rotation always does. I mean, out at Docs recently, you know, we had a couple of new players, two new players show up 4 weeks ago. And you know, unfortunately, they show up right as we're doing WKO prep.
I felt so bad. I felt so bad because I played that kid in the WKO match, and it was
well, yeah, and I'm getting to him. You know, it's one of those. You know, we're doing WKO prep, and you know, I mean, he's just getting slaughtered, and I mean, I feel bad for him. I keep talking to him. I'm like, it's not normally like this. You just showed up, you know, you showed up as we're all bringing our alpha game and we're all prepping for this, man. I'm real
just patting him on the back because he's sobbing in the corner.
You know, well,
It'll be over
we told him, you know, we've got the event on, you know, we've got the WKO on Sunday. You know, if you're able to make it, man, we'd love to have you out, but just fair warning, it's going to be a little bit more of this. But once we're done with this, we're taking a little break from it. Don't worry, you know. And he, you know, not only does he show up, he brings his friend with him who has never played before a day in his life, who's running a, you know, hodgepodge Turtles team. And I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm going, you know, again, I'm judging, I'm writing down all the stuff, and I'm looking at his team sheet, and I'm just like, oh, why did we do this to this person? Oh, you know.
I had such a quick match against. I think that was the quickest match as me against him or him and Robert.
No. The quickest match of the day, as far as I clocked it, was you versus Robert. But
6 minutes.
No, that was a long match compared to me and Robert's.
So did one person sit down and the other one just concede? Is that what happened?
No, they actually
roll off.
Oh
no, I lose.
Round turn 3 kill with Yanti.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, you know, credit to those guys. They stayed around through the whole Swiss. They stayed around through, you know, all the top, and then they joined the second chance draft, and they played in the draft. You know, now they a couple rounds into the draft, they decided they'd had enough, and they wanted to go play some Destiny.
So,
you know,
draft aside, imagine then the same type of experience other players would have, knowing that all they have to do is just pay the extra $20 or $30 to get a campaign box and or team packs, and then they're ready to go. They're ready to go post rotation.
Yeah,
and dig for blind packs.
Yeah, that's one of the things they were absolutely, you know, commenting on is they disliked how it was a, you know, pay to play model. You know,
that's collectible card games. Honestly, that's collectible.
Yeah,
card
and
games.
any collectible game has that mindset that's been out for a while. You know, that's one of the things they didn't like as much about it. And you know, they're very happy going forward. That's part of the reason they've joined, is they know that's what we're moving to.
Yeah.
You know?
So here's my hope, is that in doing this and them switching over gradually to the limited card game model, that they include promos every once in a while, just so that those players that do feel the nostalgia of being in a collectible card game can still have that moment where they're like, yes, I got that one card, and they can, you know, promote trades between other players to say, hey, I'm needing this extra from this box set, but I don't want to throw the $40 in there. Maybe you could trade me the promo. I'm still hoping they keep that sort of spirit alive, because as veteran players, that's what you hope for. That's why a lot of players left, in my opinion, is because they saw this as a threat to their, you know, collections. They were like, oh crap, you know, now we're just gonna have to completely lose value on all of these, which is not true, by the way. But they still feel that way because they went through the years of hard work just to collect these things and say that they were the top dog, and then the floor gets, you know, the rug just gets swept out from underneath them, in a sense. So I hope they keep that up with the promos, at least.
I don't know. I've seen a lot of well, I don't know. I guess I feel as though the promos have been fairly lax in quality, just in general. It's like we're not looking forward to any of those promos. I'm fine if they lose promos, and I'm someone who collects a lot, you know.
I just said as an added bonus,
large set,
kind of like an appreciation thing.
I wouldn't mind it, but if they choose to go ahead and drop it, I'm not gonna shed a tear for it.
My hope for foils, or my hope for, you know, promos going forward, is just alt arts of existing cards.
Yeah.
Don't come up with new cards, because now you've gone away from the idea of, you know, you buy the set and you've got everything. You know, now you've gone back to the, oh, well, you know, you've got to go to competitive and have a chance to win some of these cards.
Sure.
Give us alt arts or foils of these cards that already exist. Little bling for for those of us that care, but it's not going to change the game in any way, shape, or form. It's the same card as the other person has, just the art is different.
Okay.
I completely agree with that.
What's everyone's favorite card being rotated out?
Favorite card that we're saying goodbye to? Well, I personally have to say, are we saying what we're happiest is leaving?
No. What you're
our
sad
personal
to go.
favorite card that we no longer are going to be able to play. Okay, you have to give me a little minute to think.
I'll let you cry it over.
Cosmic Cube.
Yeah.
He just comes DMs
straight out. Right?
Yeah.
I think I'm Cosmic Cube.
I think probably my favorite card for shenanigan purposes that's being rotated out for me is the uncommon Alfred.
That's a good one.
I hate that one. I hate because Robert plays with it all the time. I hate that card.
There's so much shenanigans you can do, with the KO and able to bring it back better than any regenerate out there.
Energy fix it.
It just there's so much fun that could be had with that card. It was easily fit into a lot of different teams. Any team that relied on KO for dealing damage, it was the perfect card to put in their team to be able to KO.
Yeah.
For me, I'd say it's a rare Captain Cold Gun. That card had a special place in my heart for a while.
That's a good one.
Special place in hell for you?
Why is that?
In my heart. Oh, because before Shriek came along, that was my go-to control piece.
Yeah.
Because it was quick and accessible.
Yeah. It almost got put onto my my WK Yancey team, but
it fits okay.
Yeah.
Chris, what's yours?
Oh man, a lot of this stuff I came to the game late, so it's like hard for me to think of something. Probably Unblockable Joker. That was no joke. That card was great. Just because you just buy it and what are they gonna do? You can't do anything about it.
For me, I'm trying to see. I'm one of those people that if you ask me one of these questions, I want to be sure of my answer before I give it. And I can't see anything else that I'm more sad to see go, just because I think it would do so well in a meta that doesn't exist around direct damage. Is just back to the good old Bat Family combo.
Yeah. Of
just straight up running Batman, pulling Batman out with, as you said, Alfred MI5 and Patches Malone, and just board attack and just go. That was such a cool team. And I can't see anything else that that breaks my heart to see go. Maybe one 4-cost dragon from the Favorite Under Siege set, because dragons would be so perfect right now.
You've been running the hell out of that dragons team against people, and
it would be well, not really. I mean, I play it. I guess I play it like half the time that I play the game, but
it's a really good team.
It's a lot of fun. It is so much fun.
Yeah,
that's what it is. So maybe that, but I think the Bat Family team was just too much fun. And if you haven't played it, go back into Golden Age, find somebody that you want to beat up on just for a little bit, and you guys can switch afterwards. It'll be great. Like, first you take the hit, then I'll take the hit. We'll both be angry at each other. We'll flip the table a little bit, and we'll kind of walk off, and then I'll pick up my cards and make sure they didn't get wrinkled.
Have a little bit of a two-team takedown competition, going on.
There you go.
My favorite as far as the Bat Family goes was always the rare Dick Grayson.
Oh yeah, that was
when a Bat Family character
KO'd. That was a cool card that did not catch on. Am I right?
Oh, I abused the holy hell out of that card. Let me tell you, I had several teams on it that I was able to have a lot of fun with.
I just never pulled it out of the binder and gave it a real shot. Something about it just didn't never fit. Maybe it was too expensive or something. I don't know.
Now, let's go one step further here. We talked about what were, the saddest to see go. Beyond Cube, what are we the happiest to see go?
Ring and Guy. I was so ready for Ring and Guy. To me, if Cube didn't exist, all we would have seen
was Ring.
Like 2 weeks ago was Ring and Guy. That's it. and that's been 2 years now, maybe 3 years now, with a little hiatus from another broken card. I was kind of okay with like watching all of these Yanti teams dominate because it's not Ring and Guy, and I'm just so sick of watching that meta shape out, not really even shape, stagnate. So I'm totally happy for both of those.
I hate Guy Gardner. It's the when I went to my first WKO, I brought King Blackbolt, and I was like, all right, guys, that's okay. I brought King Blackbolt. Be prepared. I'm sorry what I'm about to do. Guy Gardner. Couldn't do anything.
Yeah, you just die.
Yeah.
You got blink transmutation. You just blink them back, but that's all you can do. You just waste your energy. And now that's gone too.
And of course, they always had a force attack, so I had to save a mask every time and screwed up my bag every single time.
Joe, what about you?
That's a tough one. I mean, I appreciate all the cards and for what they were, because they were designed to do a certain thing, even if they weren't used that way. For example, with Guy and Lantern Ring, they were designed separately. They may have been in the same set, but Guy Gardner came out of the starter set, which had its own contained build specifics or specs.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I can agree with that, though. I can agree. I think Guy and Lantern Ring were long overdue for, I think I was actually hoping the last time they announced a rotation, I was hoping that they would be like, okay, Guy Gardner and Lantern Ring definitely out. We don't need to see those.
It was mind-boggling to me that they kept War of Light in on that rotation. It just it seems like such a natural cut right there after War of Light. Cut it there. We waited a little bit. Now then we released this next set, which I think was what came after ASM. There was like a tiny break or something like that, a couple months, and it just seemed like the perfect place to cut it, last year at the rotation, but they didn't.
And, I mean, the sad part about Guy and Lantern Ring is they what's the word? They overshadowed a lot of good cards in World of Light.
Exactly.
I mean, there were so many good cards. It could have had a different impact on the meta if they were either banned or rotated out sooner, and then other cards from War of Light were either showcased or reprinted in some way.
Yeah.
Well, you know what it also did? It said every card that I print for the next 4 sets, unless I make them more powerful than these 2 cards, you're also not going to play with at, medium to upper level stuff. So like you look back through the Civil War set, that could have been a fun set, but it didn't even really get played with because it came out around that time and everyone was locked in on where they wanted to be. And so like little bits and pieces got picked up and tossed around, and a super rare got really popular because it was necessary, and that's about it from that set, which is terrible because that's a whole set.
Yeah, well, don't forget Luke Cage. I mean, Vicious Struggle really came about because of that specific, Luke Cage.
Yeah. Well, again, but that's one card, right? So you get to play with 2 cards from a set of how many cards was in that set?
130 roughly.
100 and something.
Yeah. I totally agree.
They no, I don't want to say they wasted it, and I don't think they did it on purpose. I just think that bad design led to a set being almost completely overlooked, and then the one that comes after War of Light ends up being a terrible set, the worst set of the game. So it's not good design when you follow that up that way.
You mean perceived terrible set, or just a terrible set in general? Like,
no, it's actually a terrible set. It's a pretty terrible set.
So you think Amazing Spider-Man was a terrible set?
I do. I think it was a terrible set. Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
So
I can see you disagree.
Well, not like vehemently, but I think it was a better set than other sets that came before War of Light.
Okay.
Like comparatively, it wasn't a bad set, but just the fact that it came right after War of Light put it in even worse of a light, I guess.
So do you think it's better than Justice League?
Yes, I can actually say that because I ripped 4 gravity feeds of Justice League, and I did 2 drafts. And every time I was just like, man, there's only like 4 or 5 good cards in this set. And I'm a huge fan of that set. I'm a huge fan of DC sets in general. But whenever I opened my first gravity feed of Amazing Spider-Man, and we sat down and we did our own home draft with it, me and my friends, it was great. And I opened the starter packs and I was like, man, there's a lot of good potential here. I mean, you had White Tiger Global for pseudo ramp, I guess you could say. And then you had Kingpin. who just randomly had really good effects. Now, granted, he was expensive, but
He was a 7 cost on all sides.
Yeah, he was just really good. And then you had all the actions, all the rare actions that were really good. You had the Goblin Glider that looked for a villain in your bag, and then you had Aunt May, you had Mary Jane, the allies that were actually really good, that helped you either fish out or field Spider-Man character affiliations for free. So the whole set in general I thought was good, but it wasn't the worst set, in my opinion.
Let me reach in with my good hand and grab something. All right.
If we're talking draft, then I think it has more draft potential than something like AOU. But if we're talking constructed, I think it was pretty barren.
Oh,
it was completely outclassed by everything around it.
Age of Ultron
outclassed. Age of Ultron was probably the worst set in my opinion.
In my opinion, I actually share that with you because every time I look at a set, I'm like, yeah, but is it worse than Age of Ultron?
Yeah, you're not wrong.
The Age of Ultron cutoff line.
Now that was a set that, when we're talking constructed, that was a set that followed a strong set. Justice League was in my opinion, a very strong set. Arthur Curry, you're talking Constantine, you're talking
Manta Ray,
Black Manta.
Yeah, Black Manta.
Yeah,
these are like, even some of the Batmans were still pretty good.
Oh yeah,
like just chock full of pretty good cards, and that was at a time. Again, hindsight's always 20/20. So if you're comparing it to the power levels of cards now, it's nothing, right? But at the time, that was the most powerful set. I mean, like Solomon Grundy back then. Oh, that was a cool card. All the Solomon Grundy stuff that you could do. That was a very powerful set.
And what's funny is you mention it, but the reason why that was the set that I bought the most gravity feeds of was because I was trying to get the Constantine. I was trying to get the super rare Constantine. I can't tell you how much disappointment we had around the table every time we ripped open a pack and there's that common Vixen staring you right in the face saying, "Hey, I heard you were looking for a Constantine." You know.
Hello, player. It's okay. Just pass on by.
That had common cheetah in it.
Oh,
he was really good. Yeah, I mean, I agree that it was a good set.
A good set.
But I mean, really, whenever I look at sets overall, I use that comparative lens with Age of Ultron more than anything else. I'm like, is it, that's your kind of like floor.
That's your low watermark.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, but does it not hit the marks like Age of Ultron? Because in any aspect, I try to look at that set and I'm like, I couldn't find anything.
What's your high watermark?
What is your high watermark? What do you think?
So I would actually go with Civil War.
As the best set they've released.
Man, that's so. If we're talking in terms of power level, it has to be Avengers versus X-Men, AVX. It has to be that in terms of power level because that established a very strong power level. But I'm actually going to go with Green Arrow and the Flash because it has the energy fixers. It has a lot of precedents that it's set, and it also drafted really well within the set. It drafted so well.
What do you guys think?
Ryan, what's yours?
My least favorite set.
Yeah.
What do you think is your high watermark?
High and low water.
So you have to remember, I got into Dice Masters because of the D&D sets.
Mm-hmm.
I did not buy anything else Dice Masters related until my son, saw that there was a War of Light set, and I bought him some War of Light for Christmas. So I will always, I think the second D&D set is the high point for me.
You think that's the most powerful set, or is that the set you enjoy the most?
That's the set that I think has had some of the best impact on the game, that I've enjoyed the most, that I've had the most fun with, and it was kind of, it didn't have the, if you just get these cards in draft, you're going to win. There was none of that really that went on in there, because the main card in there, of course, was in a starter. You didn't have to worry about it, in draft format. We are talking about the half elf bard, yes.
Yeah.
So for me, again, from the fact of why I got into Dice Masters, that set is my high point. I will compare every set to that set to see if it's better than that set, then I think it's a great set. You know, as far as worst sets, you know, the low point, I personally, I hold Civil War as one of those ones that is my low point I compare it to. Now, again, there are sets, it's not the lowest. I know that there's sets that are lower, but again, it's a lot of personal choice. You know, I had horrible experiences with drafts of that set.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, anytime we did any weird constructed thing and I got handed, you know, Civil War, it was just one of those, you know, give me Yu-Gi-Oh, give me ASM, give me anything. I don't care. Just don't give me Civil War. And it's not to say it was a bad set. It's not to say there's not great cards in it. I just never made it work for me. You know,
for me,
I'd say.
Oh, go ahead.
I'd say my lowest, as I mentioned, is AOU. I think, and this may be wrong, but I think we look back in a couple of months and say that the legit highest power level set is far and away Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't think we can argue that point. I mean,
now let's exclude Cube from that set.
No, okay, that's fine. Okay,
it's got a lot of tech otherwise.
I'll say this. If we don't exclude Cube, which technically we don't have to, because again, we talked about Half Elf Bard, and it's a powerful set for a reason. You're still looking at Adam Warlock. You're still looking at super rare Angela. You're still looking at rare Black Widow. You're looking at uncommon Captain America Chemistry Project.
Nabi.
You're looking at all of the cubes. You're looking at Nabi. You're looking at the rare Cosmo. You're looking at the uncommon Daisy Johnson. You're looking at Dum Dum Dugan, which could totally be a meta thing right now. You're looking at like well, those are all bad. You're looking at Nowhere. You're looking at King Black Bolt. You're looking at Madam Mask. You're looking at Madam Web. You're looking at anything else in here?
I think that set has a lot of cards where you could just
Quasar.
You could
no, that is a fantastic set. It is by far one of my favorites to draft.
The Collector.
There's so many different things you can do in that set.
Yondu. I mean, like there's no to me.
There's no going wrong in a draft in that set.
Most powerful set per capita. You compare, like, if you said these are the tier 1 cards through tier 5, and you gave every card a ranking within set, and you do that for all the sets, I don't think there is one that has more tier 1 cards. Just straight power level, not talking about any meta. Now, some of those cards won't pan out in the meta. I think we can all agree on that. Like, if we're not playing a meta that has any physical damage and it's all direct damage, then rare Cosmo means nothing. Right. But the fact that that can do what it could do is straight up just, it's that powerful. That set is, to me, far and away the number one. What do you think, Chris?
All right. Me being a guy that's only been in the game for about a year or more, I gotta agree with you. I would say Guardians, and my favorite is probably Tomb of Annihilation. I bought the crap out of that one, and I bought the crap out of Guardians of the Galaxy. Those are my favorite ones. Least favorite, and I have the most of it, Uncanny X-Men. Gotten a bunch of 1 super rares in a gravity feed. Bad luck with that one. I hate that one.
They gave us PXG. Don't you love it for that exact reason and that reason only?
1 card.
There you go.
In all fairness, aside from a couple of super
flying sidekicks.
Yeah, I mean that's really what Uncanny X-Men is remembered for. Is just like 1 or 2 spotlight cards.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, it really is. Flying, and that's the thing with a lot of sets out there. I think you look through the lists and you go, "Oh, these are a lot of cards I never even touched," except to put it in the binder and go, "I have that card now." LCG, here we come. We don't need to do that anymore.
I really want this drink open here now, guys. I'm sorry. I'm trying to pop it open again. I'll put you on mute so you guys don't have to hear me banging on this.
Okay.
There were some interesting things, like there's Cerebro in that set. That was a good card. Cable was pretty good. Or very good, I should say. Ant-Man was pretty good. Flip attack and defense, that first time that popped up. What else is there? Falcon, Iceman.
I think
there's Angel. I think the good Angel came from that set.
Cyclops.
I think a lot of the cards from that set have been done better in other sets.
Yeah. Certainly, but again, this hindsight's always 2020.
Yeah.
So it's easy to take a card that already exists and go, how do I make this better or more fun?
Yeah.
You know, you tried it once and now you get to try it a second time. So the old sets, like especially Yu-Gi-Oh, sometimes you know, get a bad rap when a lot of times they invented the wheel rather than refining it.
I think
And I'll agree with you on that part for Yu-Gi-Oh especially.
Yeah. Yu-Gi-Oh was an amazing set looking back. If we compare it to what, I mean, there's so many keywords that existed in Yu-Gi-Oh that didn't exist. Overcrush existed in Yu-Gi-Oh before it existed. I think maybe it showed up on AVX too, did it not?
Overcrush did not show up on AVX.
No, not the keyword, but like the ability. Did it pop in on like the thing? No, that was Underdog on
No, that was.
I want to say it was UXM had an Overcrush in it, I thought, but I could be wrong.
But it's like all these things popped up in that set that really got codified later, which is really cool to look back and realize. History lesson.
So after this video goes live, or after we're done with this live stream today, I'm pretty much gonna advertise the memorandum in memory of what I made for some of the cards that I thought were memorable that were being rotated out. I've already posted on YouTube, but I showed it to everyone here, and I thought it was funny.
We all got a laugh out of it, so.
Yeah, you beat me to the punch. I was gonna do the same thing,
dude. I'm learning how to edit, and I put it together in about an hour and a half, and I was just like, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? Because I wanted to have something for the live stream so people could see it afterwards, and I was just like, what can I do? What can I do? And I just started putting that together, and it was just, I thought it was hilarious. So it's not.
Yeah, I've got a video going up after this as well. I gotta finish that one up. Not to do with the things we lose, but just talking about the rotation as well as the cards that were spoiled in the Kree team pack and the Avengers card or Infinity box set.
Yeah, looking forward, there's a lot of stuff like range. I mean, attacking. I love anything that promotes attacking, because to me, that's one of the basics of the game that gets ignored the most nowadays.
Yeah, it really does.
Because it's not an effective route to a win con, or it's a longer way around to a win in a competitive meta. But I really think that them pushing for attacking abilities is going to be like one of the best moves, even moving forward for an LCG model.
Yeah, I agree. It avoids building up walls and going for direct damage, and it makes direct damage teams have to account for it, which is huge. And just in general, I think they got burned really hard, really early in the AVX set by building the most powerful when attacks ability in the world, and then watching as it dominated a meta for 2.5 years or whatever.
It's so funny how we don't see a functional reprint or even like an inkling of a reprint or an attempt at that ability since then. We haven't seen an attempt at it.
Natalia Romanova was the same thing, just doubled. It was a 7-drop that said when attacks, deal 4.
Yeah, but
just
I mean,
minus the life loss.
Yeah, and then the other thing about that was they adjusted the cost so that they could, you know, kind of evaluate that, or I mean, not evaluate, but you know, kind of equate that.
You want a straight reprint of Serena?
Yeah, something like a straight reprint, or something that either costs 1 more, maybe even 2 more, but not like Natalia Romanova.
Okay. That
has the same ability or around that. Loss of life, or it could just even be 1 damage.
Well, I mean, they did that with, sorry to interrupt, they did that with Cheetah a little bit, right? Cheetah was that poor man's Serena.
And yeah, and
you want something more, oh, you're muted. You want something more modern though, right?
Yeah, I do. Okay. I hope it comes out in the Avengers campaign box, that they kind of revisit those themes.
One thing that's very disheartening about when you build a team that's really good when they attack is the fact that the other person can just build a wall of sidekicks and your team is just sunk unless you have some way of clearing the sidekicks, forcing them to block something else or something like that, when you have to just build around just getting around sidekicks or a wall.
Well, that's what you hope for if it's a one attacks ability, is that they chump block so you do it again next turn, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just,
if they let it through, that's where you're like, oh man.
Yeah. No. How much can I let go? how much can I let go through? That's always
Win
what I do.
attacks and then throw Kate Bishop on there for the global.
But when you look at today's meta,
You're
hang
muted.
on just a second. I got the kids screaming too. And I don't
Okay.
when you look at today's meta, though, if you were to insert even Serena, like let's just put Serena in that meta, you would still see people wanting to go for a super rare Boom Boom or a super rare Jubilee over Serena, just because in the end game they still get you that direct damage still gets you there quicker.
Yeah. See, I kind of have an idea around a team right now where it's Boom Boom, where whenever you play a basic action, it does 2 damage. God, where did I? Sorry, talk for a second. I'm sorry. I got it sorted out.
I'm not so sure a Serena reprint would be pushed out for Boom Boom. I think that ability is just so powerful and so early and easy to get to as a 2-drop that if we're talking a strict reprint, and let's pretend you just dropped Serena back into the meta, say, hey, she's the only Golden Age card that's actually modern legal. I think she gets run, and I think she gets run fairly consistently because she's just that good. And that early game pressure, the fact that you get 4 of those dice out with with any sort of ramp whatsoever, and you just keep pushing with all of them, and they don't really have much to do.
Yeah.
Stop that.
I mean, we still have a considerable, that's what I'm saying. Like, we still have a considerable amount of counters or defense against even those sort of early buys, even after rotation, really.
You've got Blob.
You've got Blob. You've got
Shriek.
You've got Kiln. The Kiln can actually handle that a lot better
if they field.
Yeah.
I think the 4-cost Shriek is going to see some more play for aggressive teams.
I could see it. I like that card a lot. I would like to see it, I should say. I don't know if it edges out. I mean, that's the difficulty of this game, is that you can't run both of those, and that they decide to slap both of those abilities on the same character, so you can't run them both. I think that card, unless something weird happens to the meta and you don't need a blank 1 win con, or everyone starts running 3 win cons, or just everything becomes control. If everything becomes control, then that card's really good.
Yeah.
Because you can't use Shriek to blank 1 thing.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to see it as much because we had multiple blankers. We had both D-Wiz and Shriek, and
Kryptonite.
You could have put D-Wiz on your team and then the 4-cost Shriek, so you'd have both of them, and no one ever did.
Yeah.
Or very few people ever did.
But did it serve the meta? Did it serve to help you versus the meta? And the answer is no, because you were like, when that card came out, you were running against Lantern Ring. You don't need to blank anything in the field because Lantern Ring is causing the damage, and you're running Guy Gardner, and that's a straight up spot removal situation. You're not blanking the board. You're blanking literally just Guy.
Right.
Well, Shriek, the way I look at it is that 4-cost Shriek works exactly like Prismatic Spray.
Mm-hmm.
So that in that same way, you would only see it on teams that are pushing for that last, that 1 turn, just like you said. So I mean, that's where it's going to be effective. So it's not going to see as much play, but it will see play in those corner cases where you have teams built for that.
I think Blob and the 4-cost might see some place on a team. Granted, it's 2 4-cost blankers, but there's easy ways to get the 4-cost Shriek to constantly just blank and keep pushing damage if you're being an aggressive team, and have Blob making sure they can't do anything. Sorry if I stifled the conversation.
No, you didn't. My kid was crying in the background, so I muted it.
Okay.
Boom.
I feel your pain.
That. You understand. You understand.
But no, I mean, I could really go on about the Serena deal, but it's because
gone, everyone.
We're in a different place right now versus a couple of years back, really. As far as the meta's coming, as far as the addition of more direct damage dealing characters for cheap.
I don't think if you brought Serena back in at Modern today, I don't think it would be the win con that everyone used to use it for, but it's definitely going to be thrown on a lot of teams as a secondary and early damage dealer. It may not be your win con.
That's how I see it too.
But I'm going to put it on my team, and I'm going to hurt you early And if you don't do something about it, then I will beat you with it. But I'm going to force you to expend resources to stop that while I ramp up to get what my other win con is.
It essentially becomes I'm investing 4 energy to deal 8 damage because I'm attacking twice with them. You know, like that. That's essentially what it is, and that's almost half the life of the game.
And I don't.
With
I mean,
life being 20, that's really approachable, and you would do it if you could. You know.
Yeah. I mean, if they did a reprint of it that wasn't a word for word exact reprint of it, I think a 4 cost for something like that wouldn't be unheard of.
I wouldn't mind it.
Run as a 4 cost. I don't think it gets run as a 4 cost.
Maybe not. You know, it's not going to be that early win con. It's probably never going to, you know, at a 4 cost, it would never reach tier 1 meta. You know, but in a lot of casual games, it would get thrown on there, and it would still see a lot of play at that level.
It would be like your local pub stomper, I guess.
Yeah.
See, I disagree there too. I think the moment you make it a 4 cost, you're buying 1, and it does one thing. When it attacks, it deals you 2 damage, or it spins down, or you spin something down. That means you're not flooding the board with them and preventing them from spinning down, which was the danger of Serena. Is you don't have enough characters out quickly enough to spin them down unless you're also playing Serena. And so as a 4 drop, you're buying 1, and you're not getting a return on investment. You know, like especially if you're paying to field, you're not getting very much at all return on investment. So you print it as a 4, it's not seeing play at all, I don't think.
Yeah.
So in the environment of post rotation, I would say it's a good fit. I wouldn't say that it's you know, the game breaking meta changer that it was before, but I'd still say that it's a good fit. It would be that 1 of slot that you would already have on your team going into it. It would be card number 1 of 8 every time.
A 4 drop, deal 2 damage when it attacks, or your opponent spins down a character.
No, I'm talking about not the 4 cost aspect of it, but like an
2
actual
drop? Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Totally.
the actual reprint. If they went through in the Avengers box and they said, okay, here you go. You know,
100%. Yeah, no, I
don't
agree.
have to worry about spending $120 on some invitational card. Here you go. This is yours. And so I think it would be fine. People would look at it. New players would go, oh, this is really exciting to play with. And old players would go, hey, I've got another Serena, or I've got my Serena to play.
I can pull out my old one as it's a functional reprint and have my bling, you know?
Exactly.
There you go. That'd be an interesting card to see reprinted.
But in a post-rotation environment, it would be fun to see those types of things. I'm talking like when we mentioned it a few weeks back, whenever they were, or a few months back, whenever there was musings of like a post-rotation that was going to hit hard. I thought it was going to get further. Thought it was going to get pushed back. I thought it was going to be like Batman or Deadpool, were going to be the hard stops. And so I was saying, okay, why don't we actually get functional reprints or actual reprints, like just word for word reprints of cards, card name, dice color, all that stuff, dice stats, because it would be a healthy addition. Whereas before, like you were saying before, DM Armada, it was overlooked because more powerful cards were included in the same sets or relative sets.
And they're starting to do that exact thing. I mean, look at the die from the upcoming Avengers Infinity set for Black Panther. It's the exact same reprinted die. We've seen that multiple times. It's got a 2/8 on, or an 8/2 on top, and the ability is mediocre at best. But you could straight up pull that die out of UXM for the Black Panther and slap.
I mean, the Wolverine die from UXM versus X-Men First Class.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
they're starting to do that. The question is, do they take the words off of the card and slap them on the new card and say go? You know?
So I'm agreeing that on certain cards that were able to hit the spotlight if they weren't overshadowed by much more powerful cards and combinations, I think we would be accepting of that now in a post-rotation environment. That's just post-rotation, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm hoping to see
this card. This would have been a great card
if it wasn't overshadowed.
If it hadn't been overshadowed by literally all of the meta pieces out there.
Yeah.
Like right now, this would be a fun card to play with. This could be like tier 3, tier 2.5.
Well, again, I mean, the Hella Beholder team, the reason why I chose it was because it actually does what Black Adam did. It's just straightforward about its approach.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, gentlemen,
did you guys expect Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I hate saying this. Unfortunately, I do have to drop off here. I've got to go pick up my daughter real fast. So I'm gonna
kind of important.
Yeah, I know. They kind of frown upon me leaving her at the school this late. So I'm gonna drop off. But if when I get back, you guys are still here, I'll join back in. But if not, everyone, it's been an absolute pleasure tonight. Hopefully, this is something we can kind of do on a more often, maybe not weekly, but maybe a monthly. Have a Dice Master powwow type thing. So
Get together.
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
So everyone, have a great night.
All right, see you, man.
Have a good one. So I'm going to ask this question. I think I've tried it 3 times, but I feel bad stepping on toes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys, and you might have already talked about this before I got here, do you guys like that they cut all the way to Deadpool, or do you think they should have just stopped at Green Arrow, or what?
No, I like it. We were talking about it earlier, and we were talking about how far back they went. A lot of people got offended, but it's nice because they already have the same kind of structure in play with the reprints in Thor. And what I mean by reprints is like they redid the energy fixers. They reprinted actual, like they reprinted Big Entrance. They had a functional reprint of Save Civilians. It's the same thing because they were preparing for it. So they had already adjusted for this big change before we even knew about it.
It made sense to me based on those choices to cut to Green Arrow and the Flash. I didn't expect them to cut to Deadpool. Mm-hmm. That didn't cross my mind at any point, but I'm totally fine with them cutting Deadpool because, again, that's a set where what do we lose? We lose like 2 meta cards, maybe 3 if you count like, I think Namorita's from that set. No, she's from Civil War. You lose 2 meta cards and you lose something that almost was a meta card in Satchel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean,
I don't really miss much else from that set.
Deadpool, I don't think I even drafted one or opened one pack from there. I just bought a couple of singles.
It was okay to draft. It was not an unfun set to draft. I will say, if they keep it around in a meta that is slow, like this one will be, or slower, it might have brought about some new and interesting mechanics and or things that we haven't seen. Like nobody touched back for more,
and that's what I'm sad to see go. Is that in a slower environment, back for more would have been great.
It could have been interesting, right?
I talked to me and Robert were talking about this. He couldn't make it because he had a arrangement that he had to get to. That no one planned for this, so he couldn't be here. But I did talk to him about it, and he just wanted everyone to know that he understands the rotation. He's a bit upset that a few things from like probably Deadpool couldn't be more used because there were so many things around it that kind of overshadowed it, that it kind of just got left by the wayside on that set and some of Green Arrow Flash, which is true. It did. A lot of the cards just got overshadowed because it never got real good play.
You're right. So. I'm in agreement.
So, man, I had a really good question for both of you. You spoke on it a little bit, DM Armada, and we've actually been talking about it. People are like, man, why move to a slower pace? Why move to a slower game overall? And it's like, it's not that it's slow per se, it's that you're able to keep up with a lot more things than just, I'm going to do 1 million globals, catch me if you can kind of deal. I felt that's how we've been playing the game up until the rotation.
Here's my reasoning behind it. They're doing it because it's strategic, and it brings granted, in the meta now, it's just like who can buy something faster and play it faster. With the way they're going now, with what they're going to be doing, you have people that are going to intentionally KO things on their own team to push off something a little bit later or make the opponent do something else. I think it's just going to add for a better strategic game. I love playing chess, and I think this is just going to add to that and make it kind of like a chess game. And I think the game has kind of lost that a little bit in the way they've done things, and I think it's just going to be better for the game overall.
Yeah, I've always described this game to people that don't know about it as chess at 100 miles an hour. It very much is. I mean, everything on the board, everything on the table, you can conceivably know everything that is going to play out except for what comes up when you roll a die. But even that's calculable, and that is very akin to chess, right? So while you can't, strictly threaten like you can in chess. You can provide a threat that is similar to that your opponent has to play against. And I think I totally agree. We have moved away, or the game has moved away from that a little bit because of the globals, but also because of the power creep. A lot of the power creep has really encouraged you to just do direct damage, and you do enough direct damage and you win. I mean, that's true of all games. You do enough damage, you win. But you do enough direct damage, and it's easy to do direct damage, and you don't really have to do anything but get something out and then get rid of it and get something out again, or just keep getting stuff out. Which takes away, as we talked about earlier, the idea of I have these pieces, you have these pieces. Now I have to find some way to outmaneuver you with my team building or with the card abilities and the synergies that they provide, in order to get past your wall or to get past your defenders. That doesn't exist right now. It doesn't exist in the meta. It's literally just, and this is not I'm not saying this is the worst thing in the world, because it doesn't really bother me. I kind of enjoy direct damage. There's something nice about plopping something down and saying, you take 8. That's cool. But there's an aspect of the game that's missing, which is the attacker and blocker, and deciding how to block and understanding that the way you blocked was really bad because you didn't think about the after effects of this, and vice versa. I think that is gone from the game, and I think it can come back when the meta is slower. You take away some of that direct damage cube stuff, which we have, and you end up with a meta that is open to attacking and blocking, minus the collector and Nabi stuff. But I don't think you can hit everything with the nerf hammer and walk away unscathed. So
it's really that's in their design, but that's another story. That's another day. But in reality, you're right. And part of attacking and blocking is essential to chess in the fact that you trade pawns. That's your whole motivation for having pawns on the board, is to strategically attack and defend with said pawns to advance your board position and to then eventually threaten the opponent's king. So it is
not to make 8 queens. Oh, dude, that's why I'm a 1200 player. Oh man.
The way it is now is like you have 4 queens and the rest are like bishops right now in Dice Masters. And if you do the control team, you're basically running with all pawns and one just massive queen. And it's not fun.
Actually, I think it's more like, like you have 4 queens and I just have like a bunch of little rocks that I throw from across the board. And I just like throw them at your little pieces.
Yeah.
And I hope they fall over. I just throw them at your face. I just throw them at you. That's the game of chess that we've played for a little while.
Until you get knocked out, literally. But no, I agree that the slower change of pace from post-rotation, and I hope that in the printing of the campaign boxes and the team packs that they sort of keep that same pace as well, that they enforce it, really. But not by intentionally designing slower cards or just bad cards in general to where you have to either run the bad card or the mediocre card. I think it should just be like, oh, hey, this card encourages you, like range. This ability encourages you to slow play through that. Not in a sense of
even better, attune, because it's both, which is why it's such an amazing ability. Attune provides you the ability to control the board, to push attackers. If you have a lot of attune characters out, you can just deal it to their attacker or their defenders, and then you push damage that way physically, or you can ping them down and then try to sneak someone by and deal damage. Attune is and range are both keywords that are fairly new, especially range, that provide that attacker versus defender advantage and encourage you to do some team building around it, to get yourself the edge on the board.
Oh yeah.
Especially now that cube's gone, you can't kill your opponent with like a ton of attune. So
Joe, let me get this straight. You're depending on Wizkids to make competent cards going forward when they got themselves into this the way they did it?
Twice.
I mean, if they can do as much changes, and again, I kind of imagine us as being like the whiny kids. Are we there yet?
100%.
Are we there yet? And then I imagine Wizkids being the ones to slam on the brakes and just looking back at us and taking our toys away and saying, "We're not there yet. You'll see when we get there." And we're just like we're left crossing our arms and pouting the whole time because they took our toys away because they warned us. They were like, "Now, kids, Come on now. You know, they build these sets and they're like, here you go, you can have fun with this. And we just beat the crap out of these toys that they gave us while yelling, are we there yet? Are we going to get that cube
that's
ban?
sort of the reason, except the part where, like, in this analogy, they've given us toys with razor blades attached to them. And so, of course, we're going to murder each other.
Oh, yeah.
Because they gave us things that are inappropriate for children.
But the rotation as well as the ban on the cube is kind of like a compound, you know, like them yanking that analogy, you know, it's them yanking our sharp knives away from us and being like, okay, we heard you, stop crying, you know, and like, this is what you're gonna get from now on. So they give us pillows instead, and so we'll get there. We'll get there,
but we're gonna have a heck of a time with pillows.
I prefer Rock'em's, those sock'em boppers, you know,
with the hands, the giant Hulk fists. Those ones. No one gets injured with those, right? No, I think it's, and this is how it played out last year too, or I guess it was 2 years ago when they banned Bard and announced the rotation. You know, they said, "Hey, last year."
It was last year. It was last year.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
About this time,
2 years ago, they were like, "Hey, we've finally fixed it. We've rotated, and we've cut the card that's been the problem. And now a card has come around. It's been a problem, and they rotated, and they fixed the problem. And so, therefore, I'm not really looking at it as, you know, we are whiny, which we are. I mean, in general, that's fine. It happens, right? We're playing a game that we enjoy, and something has made it unenjoyable. It's going to happen. But
the squeaky wheel gets the oil first.
Yeah, that's true. If they've created something within this game that we enjoy, that is completely breaking it and bad for business, then they should definitely do something about it. And the fact that they did something about it, even though it took a little while, which I'm actually totally okay with the timing that they chose, is good. It's good that they did something about it, because I think from a business perspective, if they didn't, they're dead. At least the game is.
Yeah. So getting back to what you were saying, Chris, I do have faith that they'll eventually they'll learn from the last 3 years, by the way. It's been 3 years that same kind of stuff has been happening. I hope that they eventually go, okay, maybe we should design cards in this perspective rather than this perspective. Because what they don't realize is what we see is this perspective. We look at all those cards together and we go, hey, these would work really well. These would break the game, because you have one end of the spectrum and the other end, and all we do is we just tie a little knot and put those together.
Yeah.
And whereas they're building and they're designing in that same limited scope, or in a different limited scope, they're building and designing where one end of the piece is inches away from each other and not feet away from each other.
Yeah.
Well, I think they've made a couple of, from what I could tell, I think they've made a couple of changes to prevent that from happening. And we'll see if that occurs coming up.
I hope so.
Go ahead, sorry about that, Chris. Go ahead.
I hope they do, because I'd hate to see them have to do something where they ban cards with new people coming in, because I'm pretty excited about all the new people coming in. I think it's going to add a new bloodline to our game, and I think if they just have the shenanigans they've had up until this point, the game's going to die. But I think they better have their big boy pants on what needs to be done quicker than waiting half a year to ban a card that's ridiculous.
Well, okay, so it didn't become ridiculous until November, and it didn't really come to ridiculous until December, because know, everyone was doing other stuff with Guardians of the Galaxy. And here we are sitting in March. But it didn't become ridiculous until they got the data to prove that it was ridiculous, and not just hearing from, a select few members on a Facebook group or anything. They waited until WKOs proved that there was not a counter out there created by some person. And then they said, yes, this card is just too powerful. And I think that's beautiful. Honestly, I think here we are, a bunch of people playing casually, putting together tournaments casually. And yeah, it's going to be powerful, but unless it's like, I'm going to give you significant prize money to win this tournament. Now go and build the best thing that you can, and go and find a way to counter the best thing. Oh, you can't? Okay, then we need to can it. I think that's how you have to go about it. If you don't have the data, then you're just kind of flying in the wind, trying to acquiesce to this group or that group or this group. And I think that's a dangerous line to tread when it comes to running a business. So I'm okay with the way that they did it, and I think the timing works out. Timing it with rotation as well is kind of nice.
The only complaint I have with that is that I don't know exactly what their schedule is, but I do know that they at least have to have some weeks or months with that card at its inception and the design phase, and they have to have something that says, hey, there's this card over here that we released 3 or 4 months ago. Do you think it's going to play well with this? And then they go, nah, I don't. I mean, I don't think it's that, but at the same time, I want to hope that it's not just X design team is going to design X cards and Y design team is going to design Y cards, and they don't see each other until release. And they're just like, here you go, team, have at it. And then X and Y go, why did you create this card? It's broken with X card. Or why did you create this card? It's broken with Y card.
Yeah, and I'll say this to it. One way to fix that is to print an answer yourself. We've known they've done that before. What are the couple of sets that are coming out soon? The couple
Harley.
of products that are coming. Harley Quinn and Avengers Infinity. Okay,
Sorry,
so let's assume that and those were both supposed to come out already, right? Like, or well, I guess Avengers
It was
Infinity
supposed to be like
come out in April. Okay.
Yeah.
So we should already technically have, if everything panned out the way that they had planned, and like things don't get lost on a ship or whatever, we are already supposed to have the Harley Quinn team pack in our hands, and we would be 1 to 2 weeks away from having a gravity feed set of Avengers Infinity.
Yeah.
Let's assume that within that, I don't know, Avengers Infinity set, they printed an answer that totally shuts down actions. We don't have this issue.
Yeah.
Or at least it's a lot more in control. So they could technically have printed an answer, and either the shift in like calculating all of the revenues and understanding, oh, we should probably shift to an LCG model, may have caused that to push back, and or just switching things up, because you got to think that the distribution or the repackaging of the Avengers Infinity set is what delayed it.
Yeah.
There's quite possibly an answer to that, or there was an answer to that before they said we should just nix the card and be better for it that way, since they won't see this set for a month and we'll get kind of messed up.
Well, also keep in mind, there's the way they're doing it is they're splitting it up. So they're going to do majority campaign box and then 1 to 2 team packs. So if there's not an answer in the campaign box, then assuredly there would be an answer in the relative team pack.
Sure, and that's what I'm assuming. I'm calling, it's too hard to say Avengers Infinity plus Kree team pack plus this team pack. I'm just calling all of that the Avengers Infinity.
No, I understand that.
I'm doing that with Warhammer 40K as well, and I'm doing that with Justice as well, because I'm not going to sit here and say the Mystics team pack part of the Justice League set. Come on, no.
I think there's technically already a counter out for Cosmic Cube. The rotation gets rid of Parallax, and there's a Scarlet Witch. It kind of counters it now with what they're going to be doing June 1st, but I think they're too far beyond what.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, no, you are right.
I think that basically does shut down actions, and well, no, because you still have Uncommon Acererak for the nice balanced counterplay of rolling it one time per paying 1 energy. So
that makes it balanced, though. That's not.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So you lose the really broken, I get to do it as many times as I want until I get the thing, versus I do it one time and I kind of cross my fingers. But I mean,
don't
even
have
rolling
anything left
so
to
it's
roll.
Established within the last. So let's say. So looking at past data from 2014 to 2015, their track record for printing answers 1 to 2 sets before and after has gotten better, considering.
Yeah.
So
let's see, you had Gabi and Sarina, and they printed an answer in Constantine. So that's 4 sets.
That's 4 sets.
Okay. Then you had
so Cube,
Lantern Ring, and they printed an answer in set, kind of, which was the Bleeze, right?
Yes, that's right.
Guy Gardner, they didn't really print an answer until Blink Transmutate. Well, no, there was Distraction.
There's also, okay, so if you wanted the answer to that, they printed an answer in the promo. Characters with an attack with the promo Legion of Doom Scarecrow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's true.
So that was sort of
they
their
enjoy
answer.
printing. They enjoy printing answers, which is where you should probably look first. Is look in the Avengers Infinity set or the Harley Quinn team pack and say, was there possibly an answer that existed? And if you don't find one, maybe it got cut. Because they did cut. I would imagine that they cut multiple cards to get that number down to where we are currently
Yeah.
with those cards, and we won't know until we see it. So
I'm really hoping it's just like draft chaff that they said would fit in the set as a theme overall, would affect the theme, but not like hardcore, mechanical cards that added something to the game on a competitive as well as casual level.
Well, I said this in a YouTube video that I made like a month ago or something, that I personally think they just cut all the super rares. So if any of the super rares were good, then we won't see those, sadly.
And we
I'm
also
okay with
won't see
that.
the terrible ones either.
Possibly. But again, it doesn't. Super rares is at this point it's just a moniker because everyone's getting them, so you're not really considering it a super rare anymore. I'm just calling it a super rare based on what it used to be before this was when this was a Gravity Feed set.
Yeah.
I mean, looking back at all the times that a set was released, aside from Serena and even Red Dragon in the first D&D set, I wasn't actually looking forward to any of the super rares printed in the consecutive sets. I was like, do I need them for competitive play? Yes. Do I want to have them on my person at all times? No. I don't want to have it in my collection. Because it's going to collect dust otherwise.
That speaks to the kind of player that you are. I'm the same way. I have a super rare Yanti, and that has never left my binder since I traded for it. And I would like to play with it, especially now. I'm okay with playing it. Like I want to pull it out and put it on the Triple Attune team that I'm going to upload videos for pretty soon, which is kind of side note, super ironic because that is actually a team that's viable now that Cube doesn't exist. Triple Attune looks pretty good.
Are you using the rare Pseudo Dragon or no?
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
You are?
Pseudo Dragon is
in fact, this is an interesting
one.
combo. Pseudo Dragon, 3 Attune characters, and Spot Investigation Ramp.
Yep.
Okay.
You turn the entire bag and you get the Attune procs for 3.
See, that's perfect. So that's one of those things where I can enjoy that post-rotation because you require several pieces to set one engine up. Whereas previously you just needed 2 pieces to set one engine up. And that was it. And so it's that thing where it's just like you're slowing down the pace of the game, but you're not slowing down the overall play of it. You're just making it to where people can enjoy building their pieces for their engine, and then they can enjoy the fruits of their labor before somebody comes in and just kicks their sandcastle over.
Well, I got my sandcastle kicked over, so it is what it is.
I think after rotation, I think Yanti, with some modifications, I think she's still a viable 5 to 6 or 7 turn kill, and you could just do it with one Attune or another Attune with so Pseudo Dragon for sure, because it's basically acts as like a ring constantly in the field and is like a mini ring, mini cube. Yeah. And then I had Zendala Simber on my WKO team as protection and worked out great.
She's good. Well, so you slap on, and this is what I'm looking at right now, and what I'm probably gonna make a video for whenever I can do that. Is you slap on super rare Yanti. I ran it with common Yanti because of the unblockability, which is actually really good. Super rare Yanti, Zendala Simber as well, Pseudo Dragon, and the new Wasp from the Avengers Infinity that gets +2/+2 and has Attune. And it gets +2/+2 whenever you use an Attune ability. So you get all 3 of those characters out, or all 4. You go insane with the Attunes by buying a, I don't know, improvised weapon or something. Sure. And that's giving +2/+2 each time you use Attune, and Attune's hitting for 2 each time. So you're hitting 2, 4, 6. Yeah, you're hitting 6 per purchase of an action, which is gross. Still is gross, but it takes a lot more setup, which is why it's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Susceptible to the one of the cards being blanked, but it has counterplay because it's got Attune, and Attune is awesome.
Okay.
It can counterplay with everything. Oh, he's here.
Hey, wow.
Hey, I'm back.
I just thought of the other team that I was creating that I thought me and Robert have been working on it technically. The uncommon Boom Boom, when you play a basic action, it does 2 damage. Dark Avenger, Nightwing. So when you have Nightwing out there, it does Dark Avenger does 2 damage. And then you also have Yanti, any of them, and you have Pseudo Dragon. Every time you play it, every time you play Dark Avenger, it's doing 6 damage. Nothing's more than 2 cost.
But didn't he kill me with that team?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I added
Yeah,
Pseudo Dragon and Nightwing.
So it's
That's a
great that
cool
we're
addition.
that we're talking about effective post-rotation teams, because I really think teams like Mr. Fix-It, if they don't print anything too game-changing in the horizon, I think teams like Mr. Fix-It are still viable, because Robert and I were talking about that too before this, and you know, we have Proton Cannon, which is cheap and it gives them
that's
Overcrush.
really good.
So you still have that method, and I mean, you still have ramp in the form of HXG. And so it's very easy to purchase a Mr. Fix-It on turn 3 and then swing for the win on turn 4.
Yeah.
He did it in practice. He did it in practice a couple times, and it was just ridiculous. I was kind of wanting to. I thought he was going to do well at WKO with this team. I was wanting to feature it on when me and Ryan played. I was wanting to feature his Mr. Fix-It team, but it just didn't work out, and we decided that I thought we kind of want to have a third person playing with us at all times, so one of us can comment and talk, because when it's just me and him, we're focusing on the game and not having fun. We're just trying to kill each other and murder each other.
That's what people want to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want the third person to make the commentary fun and liven it up a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, they can make fun of you two trying to kill each other.
That brings me to the point of a little bit of here. This upcoming week, Joe Vega's gonna be playing either me or Robert. Should be interesting. I don't know really. I don't think we have any plans to ban anything. We're not playing Cube. That's off the channel. That was before the rotation.
Yeah, I wanted to go post rotation. I still wanted to do your concept of, you know, the 2-team thing, but 2 different teams, and this is going to be post rotation, like with the card pool that we have. And I really think that would be our chance to kind of jump into it and explore what the meta would be like. And one of the teams that I was going to do was going to be Common Yanti and Improvised Weapon.
Yeah, still a good card. Yeah.
And so, I mean, I had done that with the PDC Prime event. I had to make sure that all my stuff was Prime legal. Well, now we're -3 sets from Prime legality, and it's still good. It still holds.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that team I am bringing, and then I'm also bringing either a variant of Mixer Fix-It or a Jubilee Awaken team, because I still think Awaken ability from X-Men is still good in the right build.
It is.
That's another keyword that's been kind of overlooked because of the gigantic things that came after and a little bit before, and it's Awaken can be amazing. It's just
that's very strong. It's very strong.
I don't think it was ever overshadowed. I think it was it showed up at the wrong point, in that it showed up right before prep for competitive season.
Yeah.
And it's not a tier 1 keyword, and so it did get overshadowed in that sense, but I've seen a slew of Awakened teams that all were fantastic, and you know, I'm glad I'm not that much of a player. You know, I don't have to play against these teams on a regular basis.
You're not a player, you just crush a lot.
I just crush everyone's dreams with bad rulings. So
boom, done.
So yeah, Awaken has a chance as well as Attune to be one of the keywords that steps up to bat and really just, you know, knocks it out of the park, in my opinion. So that's what I want to explore with the next video with you guys, is just seeing what we can do post rotation just with the cards that we have, and then hopefully looking forward to what's going to be printed or what's going to be released after that.
Absolutely. And I mean, we've been talking a little bit back and forth with you on Facebook, and when we finally met at the WKO and you pulled out that Beholder team, I was like, ooh.
So a couple of key cards that I wanted to mention that still function and work as previous cards, even post-rotation, are, of course, the Uncommon Cape Bishop. And the Uncommon Wrecker still works as a...
There was a ruling on that today.
As Bane.
That's Rare Wrecker.
No, that's Rare Wrecker.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to get to him, though, too, because he's big. Since the ruling is concrete now, people will actually go for him against the teams that rely heavily on globals while they can do their thing.
which
Yeah.
is very rare now because most of the globals are gone.
I was going to say now, guys. I've had a really, really weird and long day, so I have not had a chance to look at Win to see what the ruling was. So go ahead and enlighten me here.
Rare Wrecker has been confirmed to blank all to keep you from using all globals on things that are not active in the field.
So
that includes
it's including actions now.
Everything that is not existing in the field at that current moment, you cannot use the actions for.
That's
All right.
That's the only tech from Thor that I'm missing is that.
And so looking at uncommon record.
Let's talk. I think I have an extra. So
there you go. So looking at those cards as kind of substitutions, they may not work in the same environment or in the same way as they did before, but they're still functional in that aspect. So you still have outs.
Mhm.
You still have the traditional outs, I guess you would say, that you could rely on, and you could put those on your team and be like, okay, I need a Bane effect. So uncommon wrecker, here you go.
Yeah.
And
all right, guys, it is my turn to press the goodbye button because I've got to go actually do some video work, because I would love to keep talking, but I do this so much where I delay actually doing work because I'm tired and I want to hang out.
Yeah.
So I should probably actually go finally do work.
All right.
Make
That's
a video.
overrated.
Make a video or something. I don't know.
you do that, man.
Should probably do that.
I look forward to
You guys have a good night.
All right.
Enjoy yourselves.
Before you go,
Before I
22nd.
go.
April the 22nd. Are you cool with that?
Am I cool with that?
The
Man,
tournament?
I'm cool with like 2 weeks from now. I was gonna do it in like a week, honestly.
I was thinking maybe
But
doing
hey,
some.
that's just me.
I was thinking about maybe doing some preliminaries, possibly, because we only got 4 people signed up right now. Though I need to have more people. That's the only problem.
Oh, I
Yeah,
need to look at my schedule.
We'll talk in PMs. Are you thinking doing it the entire like in one day? I was thinking of just spreading it out like the one that I ran.
I think it would be
2015.
much better if we, spread it out, but we gave time limits for each round. So you have to have so much time to complete your round before it just progresses without you.
So basically the setups that we've done in the past.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's fun. I
25
like those setups.
25 minutes per basic round, and you have to win 2.
Well, I think he means like you have a week to get your game in.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah, instead of doing everything all the same day.
Yeah, no. I think that would be rough. That'd be tough.
Yeah,
This way you can schedule around it, and you can play like 8 rounds, or 5 rounds plus the top cut, that sort of thing.
absolutely.
So that's what I was picturing. We'll talk more though, PM and stuff like that.
All right, cool. All right, thank you for
Sweet,
coming,
guys.
man.
Have a good one. Thanks for having me. Thanks
No
for letting me hang out and talk.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Have a
it.
good- See. Okay. All right. So, man, today's been a long day. I'm sorry. All right. So, I think going forward, I'm definitely looking forward to range. I'm looking forward to being able to use a tune more effectively. That's what I'm looking for in the new sets. Is
I think a tune and range are both going to have a little bit of, or not, a tune and infiltrate are going to have some staying power because they have mechanisms already out there that are able to increase the damage they're doing. Pseudo Dragon and the rare Black Widow,
or Gamora.
Yeah.
Oh,
Gamora.
it's just for herself, but still.
Yeah. So I mean, you've already got a built-in, cube for those keywords.
Yeah.
So I think those are still going to be around to stay. They may not be tier 1, but they're at least going to be tier 2. Wreck some face in in casual type plays.
Does Angela turn everything into infiltrate?
No, Angela does not turn everything into infiltrate. That I believe was the Captain America.
That's the super rare, yeah.
Yeah, the Angela says anyone that has infiltrate cannot be blocked and does not deal combat damage.
Could you imagine Angela, Cap, and like two attunes with Pseudo Dragon? That would be that's a lot of buying, but that could be dirty.
I'm not sure I would want to mix the two of them. I mean,
True.
You know, if I'm going to be putting 2 other characters on there, if I've already got Angela and Cap, then I'm looking at, you know, the rare Black Widow and the I believe it's the common spot or Ricochet. Sorry, Ricochet.
Yeah.
The Ricochet that, you know, whenever you use his ability, you get to prep dice.
Yeah, it's just if you do half and half, it's basically having just not enough of a good thing.
Right.
So.
And again, I mean, it's cutting your attune in half. You know, having pseudo dragon into attune, you might as well throw a couple more attune on there and be able to, you know, hammer them hard.
Yeah.
So I don't see much now. Again, I could be very wrong. You know, it's been proven time and time again. I'm wrong a lot.
Except for when you're judging.
That's why I like being the head judge. No one can contradict me. My rulings are final. But no, I mean, it's definitely one of those, you know, could someone like, you know, Joe or Steven or, you know, Isaac or Stuart or, you know,
John.
someone, you know, John. Oh, God.
I hate playing John. He always comes up with a weird, wacky team. And I'm like, how does... What?
I have to spend at least 5 minutes pre-match looking at his team going, okay, what actually are we doing here? Because at first glance, it makes no sense to me.
And then when he's just like standing up, playing the game, talking to other people, rolling his dice, and you're like, I'm struggling here. You're just dominating.
Yeah, dude, I don't even know what you're doing, and you're not even paying attention to me. Wow, way to make me feel inadequate there, man. No, John's a great guy. If watching, John, we love you. We're jesting, you know. But no, you know, back to the point. I'm sure someone can come up with a build that would combine the two. I just don't see how combining the two can make a competitive team because you've split your forces too much.
Yeah, and you need to have at least 1 or 2 tech to really push a tune really hard with Super Rare Yanti. So I think Super Rare Yanti is still going to be the one used.
Man, I see it, but then again, I don't. You know, I see it, and then I'm like, but on the other hand,
I see it, but I don't know if it, you know, it's never going to be as fast. Yeah. Plain and simple. You know, you throw if you're able to get pseudo dragon out and, you know, able to, you know, keep you know, from multiple things being blanked, then, you know, it's just as powerful. You know, there's no denying that. You know, if you're able to work around whatever control they put in on you, you can make it just as powerful. It's just not going to be as quick.
Yeah, maybe Nova Corps uniform on put that on the Yanti common team, and so you're swinging for just massive amounts and doing a tune every time you equip it, and it's just, I think that's kind of dirty, but it's also once you've rotated it, once you use it, it's you got to pull it through the bag again.
Yeah.
So.
Hold on, I apparently have someone behind me here, so hold on a second, guys.
Okay.
I definitely think that I'm going to start wanting to build around a tune because I think that they're going to start pushing, because with D&D, or with TOA at least, you saw just super rare, and you saw super rare Yanti as well as rare pseudo dragon had something to do with a tune outside of just having the ability. And now that we're getting all this stuff printed in Avengers, and we're gonna see a lot more of like, when X thing happens with the tune, you get this added benefit.
Yeah.
And I want to build a team that's going to focus more around that than I would with Infiltrate, because Infiltrate already had its time to me on Guardians.
Yeah. And it was a 2-month period where it was really good.
Yeah. And you were like, okay, well, I can do all these things with the super rares and Guardians and rares and uncommons. But can I do all these things with a tune? No, you can't. So then, you know, this new set gives us a chance to really play in that same aspect with a tune, whereas I don't think it's going to add too much more value to Infiltrate than Infiltrate already has.
Yeah. See, I haven't really been trying to watch all the spoilers because I kind of want to be surprised whenever I actually buy the new sets, because I don't know. I want to treat it like it's a blind pick and have those feels again. Member berries. But the only one I really have ever gone forward and just looked at spoilers was probably Guardians. because me and Robert at the time were like, holy, whoa.
Yeah.
And I didn't even look at King Black Bolt. When I got King Black Bolt, I almost gave him away. And then I saw DM Ramada's video on it, and Robert's like, "This is what you can do with this." And I was like, "Oh."
But did I tell you guys how I got my hands on the super rare Yanti?
How?
So, Chris, you remember the Thor draft that I was at that I pulled Malekith?
Yeah, you bastard.
Yeah. So I go to Docs the next week, and one of the guys, I was playing a team that had the Malekith, and he goes, "Yeah, I really, want that Malekith." And I was like, "Well, it's one I needed for my collection, so it really have to be something to really entice me."
Put it up.
And he threw a whole bunch at me, including he's talking a bunch of rares, some foils I'm missing, stuff like this, and it's like, okay, well, what about if I put the super rare Yanti?
Ooh.
And I'm like, in the back, I'm just like, huh? What? I'm like, you don't need the rest of it, man. We'll just.
I'm getting 2-to-1 value on it now.
So
we'll go there.
Here's the funny part about how I came across the super rare Malekith. I traded because it was at the time it was $26, and I was like, I need to hold on to this, or I need to get it as fast as possible and hold on to it because it's going to go up in value, just like with the Blue Eyes White Dragon. And so I saw that and I was like, okay. So I traded a few rares and some uncommons. I can't remember who I traded to, but shout out to that person. And as soon as I got it, I was like, I looked at super rare Yanti and I was like, I don't think I'm going to want this. And sure enough, rotation comes around and I'm looking at the value of super rare Malekith and it's just going to keep on going up.
Yeah, I think Malekith is going to be something that hasn't been looked at as like a big card up until this point, but I think it adds strategic win cons, and I like the I like using dupe. Dupe is a really fun stupid card. Adding Absorbing Man, the when KO double the when KO'd effects, you can get around blankers with that. I love that card.
For sure. So it's something to look forward to, and it's just like, yeah, when you look at the overall value, Thor had a lot of really good stuff that can affect the meta post rotation.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I've said enough, so I'm gonna go ahead and step off. I got kids that are up way past their bedtime, even for a weekend.
All right, absolutely, man. Thank you for coming on. I asked Joe today, what was it, about like 3 o'clock to come on? Yeah. And I asked Ryan about the same time, and I was like, hey guys, is 8:30 okay? Yeah,
I could not wait. I wanted to just blurt it all out. Like, I just wanted to vomit all my feelings about how good this how good this rotation will be for everything. Everyone involved is going to benefit from it, no matter what the naysayers will say, because there's no net loss on this. It's all gain.
Yeah.
Well, and again, we the Discord chat, we were invited in on this. I was like, great, but I'm not talking anything about it in this chat. I'm saving it all for the stream, twofold. As I said, I had a bad work day. You can search Google. I live in Mesquite, Texas. You'll see there was some serious badness going on in Mesquite today.
Oh, okay. You were involved with that.
Yes. Okay. So, wow. I'm not going to get into any of that. That's a whole nother ball of wax that we don't need to talk about. But it was one of those, I've got too many other things going on. We're not talking now. We're saving it all for the stream. Let's have fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I appreciate you guys' input, and it's always good to talk with peers and like-minded players. It's always refreshing to just get it out there and sort of have a powwow, like you were saying earlier, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel so welcomed in this community, and I've really just only been trying to do things for the past 3 or 4 months, just trying to put my name out there and just get to hang out and play with everyone. And me and Robert just made the channel not too long ago, and everyone's been very like, awesome, good job, we like what you're doing. And yeah, man, I really appreciate everyone's input. I appreciate everyone talking to us, and I appreciate people coming on. Ryan, always good.
Well, and Joe, thank you for including me in that that group of select few. I personally don't think I I belong in that group, so thank you.
Oh well, I mean, everybody's a student.
Yep.
Nobody's a master, and they are in their own rights, but everybody's still a student.
And as the FU team up proved, Chris is definitely not a dice master.
Are you
Chris
sad?
could not beat that team.
Are you sad that your team that I made for you is going to be out of rotation now?
Let me write some check marks on a bucket list on that one.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to end this stream here, guys. I appreciate everyone that came on. Steven, thank you for coming on. You're probably doing stuff with videos right now. I have a video that I want to show right now to everyone. Let me pull it up. So if you guys want to go, cool. I'm about to just play my video that I made. My stupid little video.
We'll see you guys in the next couple of days whenever we do the other video for the teams.
Absolutely. I'll talk to you.
Ryan, we'll talk to you later, man.
Yep. And maybe see you Tuesday up at Doc's.
All right. I hope so.
Yep.
All right. Thanks.
All right. All right. So I'm going to just put this over the thing right there. And turning on the sound. And that's going to do it for this little stream that me and Ryan and Steven and Joe had. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. We're going to do a 2-team takedown with Joe. It's most likely going to be Robert there commenting. But if he has something coming up, it'll probably be Ryan there to comment and just keep it going a little bit. So. And we're going to do more with the upcoming event coming. We're going to decide more when it's going to be. But thanks for coming on, guys. And
pleasure to be here.
All right. Talk to you guys later.